Hey everyone, first want to address real quick before the video starts that the news of Jody Allen selling the team just dropped while I was editing this. Obviously really big news that's going to affect this team down the line. I think Brad and I are going to wait until some more details come out to give you guys our take on that. Huge bombshell. The second is I apologize for my audio quality in this video. I had my mic faced the wrong way while I was recording, but I just bought this new mic stand that allows this mic to hang in front of my face, so that won't happen again. If you're new here, if you've been here for a while, know that my voice will not sound like that. But without further ado, listen to us talk about why tanking is bad and why we're glad the Blazers didn't do it. Brad, I'm gonna be honest, I'm pissed.
Oh, are you pissed?
I'm pissed at the way it went out, and not because the Blazers didn't get a top 4 pick. That was expected. But like I think a lot of people will agree, the West did not need to get the first and second pick.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. I am so happy. I didn't tell Jethro how I felt about this, just so our fans know. It makes me so happy to see 3 teams that egregiously tanked in Charlotte, Utah, and Washington get, what is it, 4th, 5th, and 6th? Yeah. Dude, that is so awesome. Because we've been anti-tanking for as long as possible, and I know this didn't benefit us this time, but in the grand scheme of being anti-tanking, this was such a ginormous win. I'm so happy to see, because I think this could be a huge step in people finally shutting up and realizing that it is not as advantageous as people think to purposely be terrible. In fact, it's a long-term shit idea. Because now the Dallas Mavericks have the number 1 pick, and the San Antonio Spurs have number 2. And everyone's pissed saying it's rigged, because no one has any idea. This is further proof that no one has any goddamn clue how the lottery actually works. The league is doing the right thing in the last 2 years. 2 teams that didn't tank won the first pick.
Well, here's the thing is that, the nerds will tell you that more lottery balls means a higher chance, and that's just what you should be going for, right? But based on what just happened, we should have been 3 wins better and tied the Dallas Mavericks and been the 11th team, right?
Exactly.
That was the perfect outcome for the season, was to win 3 more games. And I know, I get it. Everyone's going to be like, well, actually, you needed more ping pong balls is better. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I just watched it happen, and if we got 11th worst, if we were actually in that spot that everyone was so afraid we would be in the play-in, but getting knocked out and not actually making the playoffs, that would have landed us Cooper Flag.
Isn't that so beautiful? Because, I just want to reiterate to everyone, we have been unbelievably anti-tank. We wanted to make the play-in no matter what, and people said, so we're going to make the play-in, not make the playoffs, and then what? Just have a lower pick and it was for nothing?
Yeah.
It's like, no, actually, that was the team that goddamn has Cooper Flag now. I think this is 2 years in a row now to prove, and it's not just the first pick. And look at the Spurs. They were just a little bit worse than us. They got the second pick, which I think people were going to say like, oh, we should have been worse. I would personally rather have a good team like the Mavs who just misses the playoffs, who has a 1.8% chance of getting the first pick, than having a god-awful 18-win team that has a 14% chance.
Yeah.
Just 14. Yeah. That's saying you have a 86% chance of not getting the first pick versus a 98% chance. I take the 98 with a good team and just hope for the best. Because 2 years in a row that's happened.
The 3 teams that really tanked, the Hornets, the Wizards, and the Jazz, they came into the season, like many people thought we were going to be, but came into the season and pulled every plug they could when they had the opportunity to keep falling down. I think it's a little bit different in the case of the Wizards and the Hornets, who really were just that bad, but I think the Jazz barely played Larry Markkinen. They barely played John Collins. They really brought themselves down to maximize their profits. And now the Utah Jazz are picking 5th. And what are they going to get? Like Trey Johnson? And they're stuck with this team that people have tons of questions about. But if our outlook looked like theirs, and then we ended up with the 7th pick, the 8th pick, I can at least be sitting here and saying, okay, we're picking 3 back of what that would have been in 11, but we have Denny Avdia. Tumani Kamara looks good.
Yeah.
Aiden was looking awesome to end the year.
I would rather be an okay team that's really young that could maybe pull off and I like our scouting department.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think no matter what, we're going to get a solid player. I really do. I trust in them enough that we're going to get a solid player. We're not getting an all-star, but I'd rather be the team that is super young, had a good season, and now gets to add another potentially solid player than the team who played as horrifically as possible with nothing to build upon just so they could have a slightly larger chance of getting the first pick and still didn't.
I feel like people completely forget that we did a full-on tank to try and get the best odds we could for a player in Wembanyama. I understand giving it that one go. That's what we did. If you're pulling the rebuild, you break it all down, you go to the bottom, and then you start to go back up. You don't stay at the bottom until you get the number one pick because it can take you forever.
That's how you become what the Detroit Pistons were before this season. And look how awesome things went when they decided, we're not going to do that anymore. Yeah. And I think the Shaedon Sharpe pick is a perfect example of why it's not worth it to tank too. Because, I think most Blazer fans love Shaedon. Mm-hmm. We got Shaedon by falling back in the draft. We could have also gone up in that draft and drafted, Jabari Smith, which is fine player. I personally right now would rather have Shaedon. So it's we're being proved to our face time and time again why tanking 75% of the time is not going to work. I'd say 75. I think that's a pretty fair odds. You're either going to fall back a little bit, or you might not get a guy that you really like, and there's going to be some guy who's at 7th or 8th, a guy like Shaedon Sharpe, who you honestly would prefer to have over any of the picks that were higher up when you tried to tank to get those picks. Having an organization that's smartly ran, that knows the guys they want, and are now able to add guys to an already good team because you didn't throw everything apart to tank, that's way more beneficial than having a team with a horrible losing culture that doesn't even end up getting a top 4 pick. And even if you look at a team like the Spurs, who I agree with you, said the Spurs did it in an understandable way too. Yeah. But they were also forced to because Wembanyama got blood clots. God, it's awful. If that doesn't happen, Spurs aren't in this position. Yeah, they're picking 14th and 13th or whatever. So it's if you want it to happen, then things should happen naturally. That's why I like how the Spurs happened. It happened on its own. They didn't force anything. And when that happens on its own, it's important to the culture of the team, too. It's important to have a team that, was trying to win and it didn't work out. If that's how you get a high pick, I'm fine with that. Because that's still, you're still putting forward a group whose mindset is to win. There was just things that were out of their control that got in the way.
The last way I'll kind of frame all this is that the Mavericks winning it feels fishy, right? I'm not someone to actually stand on the soapbox and be like, it is rigged, here's why, but the rigged conversations are going to happen around the league. I'm going to indulge in them. It feels like they threw them just the biggest bone, right?
Yeah.
For giving Luka to the Lakers. And I saw this right before we hopped on, but in 2019, that was when the Pelicans traded Anthony Davis to the Lakers, and then the next draft lottery, they got number 1 pick and got Zion Williamson.
Yeah.
If you're buying into all that, if you're on the NBA's rigged wave, just know that it's never going to be rigged for the Blazers. And that is a harsh reality that we are never going to be a franchise that the NBA will put on a pedestal, unless I guess we give our superstar player to the Lakers in about 10 years, right? And sell our soul to the devil, but I hope we never ever do that, right? The league will never be rigged for the Blazers. And so if you're under the belief that the NBA is rigged and that you want the Blazers to tank for the number 1 pick, it's not going to happen.
Maybe it is rigged, dude. I don't know. I don't think it is. I really don't think it is. I think there's actually no chance. But I just think no one actually realizes how the lottery works. So a lot of people seem bummed, dude. They seem really upset. Yeah. But we've already said, we already have a good team. We could potentially add a really good guy to that team because historically speaking with the draft, unless you have a super generational talent, it's not really worth getting the number 1 pick. And when I say it's not worth getting the number 1 pick, it's always worth getting the number 1 pick, but it's not worth ruining your team to the extent where, there's a generational guy to get. Because that's kind of an idea that a lot of Blazer fans have had is, we're a star away. Every draft has an amazing player that's going to make your team a lot better. Flag is definitely that. I think he is a step above, he's going to be an all-star level talent, but a step below, he's a guaranteed Hall of Famer. He's going to be a great player, and I really, really like Flag and think he would have fit on this team beautifully, but I don't think he's quite LeBron level. I don't think he's quite Wemby level, which I don't think is controversial. And just historically speaking, there's been so many amazing picks currently in the NBA that have been taken around where we are. You look at Giannis, you look at Kawhi, you look at Jokic. You look at, where was SGA drafted?
11th.
Was he 5th?
I was going to say.
He's 11th?
11th, yeah.
Was he 11th? You look at SGA. It's sorry, but the NBA, There's another thing I wrote down. I don't know where I wrote it down, but I looked at the NBA's top 50 players on the Ringer, like who they had ranked 50. The average pick was 10th or something for all the guys in the top 50. It's endless talent from all throughout the draft. If we had a shitty front office, a shitty scouting department, I'd be like, damn, we're not going to find that guy in 11th. I don't think that's our scouting department. We have the guys who are set up to draft someone who's going to make this team better. And especially in this draft, after Flag, I think it is a crapshoot. Is it a bummer we didn't get Flag? Of course. The team that had the highest chance of getting Flag had a 14% chance, didn't get him. Those teams fell to 4th, 5th, and 6th, and they now have nothing to show for it. We have the 11th pick where we could get a guy, historically speaking, who could be really, really good, and we have the team to show for it. We're going to be fine. This is good. We're happy.
I think that's just the point, is that the most important thing is not getting as many ping pong balls and trying to luck out for a singular guy. The most important thing is having a competent organization that can make many good small moves in a row. And if you happen to find yourself in a situation where you get lucky and you end up with a chance at one of these guys, then that can accelerate your future. But your future is not black and white, determined by whether or not you have a guy or you don't have a guy. And the mission should not be to go find that guy and then figure everything else out later. The mission should be to make good moves and good decisions and build winning habits over and over and over and over again. And that's how you not only become a team that wins one championship, that's how you become a team that can win multiple championships.
Exactly. You do all that, and then if you really want to get to the next level, you get lucky. You want a front office that increases your chance of being lucky.
Yes, there you
That's
go.
exactly right. And that's what it is. Because at the end of the day, it is a crapshoot, even with the best front office in the world.
I'm just glad that we're done. That was the last season where anyone can say anything about tanking. That we are moving on from tanking. It is only the objective of every single game now is to win. And I'm honestly glad this day is over. It is in the past.
Blazers are cool, dude.
Blazers are cool.
Yeah.
They're cooler than they're cooler than the Jazz. They're cooler than the Hornets. And they're cooler than the Wizards. I think we can all agree.
And they're cooler than the Lakers permanently.
Yeah. Forever.
Yeah. God, dude, I keep scratching. I hope the fans, I keep scratching my nose and sniffling and acting excitable. So I have allergies, and
Comment if you think Brad's doing coke.
Exactly, I'm not. I promise you I'm not. I have the itchiest nose. I was wearing a nose strip. Fans will like this. I was wearing a nose strip. Jethro made me take it off. He thought it was unsightly. But I'm very congested and itchy and allergic, so that's why I'm scratching and sniffing.
How many times Brad scratched his nose in the video?
Dude, I bet it's
if you're right, we'll
I bet it's 10 times.
Well, we appreciate you guys. Keep on liking it up. Comment, subscribe.
Yeah.
And go Blazers.
Go Blazers.